Welcome back to the Leader Fitness Podcast. I am your host, David Brown-Dawson. On today's episode, we're going to talk about my word of the year. I'm curious if you do identify your word of the year or your word of a season, and if so, I'd love to hear what it is and how you came about choosing it. And if you haven't ever identified or chosen a word of a season or a word of the year, I'd love to also hear why not. And if you're curious about how to go about doing that or my thought process in terms of how to choose a word, stay tuned. We're going to talk about it. Also, I want to know if you can tell me what these three books have in common. The first book is Secrets of the Millionaire Mind by T. Harv Eker. The second book is Self-Coaching 101 by Brooke Castillo. And the third book is Energy Leadership by Bruce D. Schneider. If you know what these three books have in common, you're ahead of the game. If you don't, stay tuned. This is the podcast for you. Welcome to the Leader Fitness Podcast. The Leader Fitness Podcast is brought to you by LeadComm Gym. LeadComm Gym helps leaders and teams build the communication, adaptability, trust, and systems that are required for sustained high performance. This specific episode is sponsored by Enduring Urgency, Achieve Massive Goals in a World of Distractions. Enduring Urgency, Achieve Massive Goals in a World of Distractions. You can find it on Amazon. It's a great book. I am biased. I wrote it. But really the heart of this is helping you become the best version of yourself. There are different exercises in there. I share a little bit of my story, and it's really a toolbox for you to identify what's in your garden, your abilities, your ideas, your opportunities, and really dig deep and take a holistic approach to achieving the massive goals that you set. Yeah, it's broken down into three sections: building resilience, developing patience, and taking consistent, focused action. So with that, let's dive in. In past seasons, I have chosen a word of the year. Sometimes it's come from a sermon I've heard. Sometimes it's come from a book I've read. Sometimes it's come from a feeling or a goal and wanting to find a word that aligns with my priorities or aligns my priorities and my focus for that season or for that year. This year, I've chosen the word undeniable. Why undeniable? It started from an ego standpoint. I wanted to ensure that by the end of this year, there was not a doubt about my skill set. I wanted to make sure that it was undeniable that I was a highly effective coach. It was undeniable that I was an effective leader. It was undeniable that I was an effective speaker. I just wanted to make sure that by the end of the year, I had done the work required so that there was no question, no doubt that I was highly effective at the things that I do. I don't think that was wrong. I think it's incomplete. During some quiet time, I felt convicted about the word, and not the word itself, but my approach. And that's where I say I think initially it was an incomplete approach, because the word was right, but my approach was missing something. And that was, instead of thinking about the end and, hey, I want by the end of this year to have my skills be undeniable, and so what actions do I need to take? I needed to start with my own beliefs and my own thought patterns, because that would then enable me to achieve that goal of putting in the work over time to ensure that my expertise is undeniable. Let me go a little bit deeper. So, as I've said in previous episodes, I am a Christian and I'm a coach. And so collectively, I understand, and this is where these three books come in, I understand that our thoughts are powerful. In fact, I want you to take a look around wherever you are. If you're driving, if you're on a bus or on a train, if you're walking right now, I just want you to look around. Everything that you're seeing that is not a tree or not a naturally produced thing, so like a tree or a bush or grass, was created by a person. So if you're in a car, then your steering wheel, the road, the lights, If you're walking down the street, the pavement, the homes, the buildings, all of those things were created, and before they were created, they started as a thought. What these three books have in common, and I'll come back to this idea of undeniable, what these three books have in common is this framework of thoughts influencing feelings, feelings influencing actions, actions influencing results. Really, it's this understanding or this awareness of, hey, the thoughts that I think influence how I'm feeling influences my actions or inactions, and my actions or inactions influence my results, and then my results reinforce that thought that I had initially. Gosh, y'all, this is so good. So it is so fascinating because they each take slightly different approaches, but they each have this framework in it. Secrets of the Millionaire Mind is more focused on finances and wealth building. So it has a wealth bent to it, but it really talks about the underlying piece below the thoughts, feelings, actions, results. It has this programming. From a biblical standpoint, I would take it as like, what is your faith? Like, what is your belief? Because that then influences how your thought patterns, and your thought patterns then influence how you're feeling. And how you're feeling does influence how you show up, how you act, or what you do. And then those then influence your results, which reinforces those beliefs. When I first wrote my book, Enduring Urgency, it was such an exciting thing to write that when I got there, I hadn't even thought about sales and marketing. And so when I started that journey, I was like, man, it feels egotistical to tell people that I wrote a book, because then they might think less of me, or they might think that I'm being braggadocious or arrogant, or think I'm superior. And so that led to a feeling of hesitancy in terms of going about and selling my book and putting my book out there. That then led to this result of people either not purchasing the book or not even knowing about the book. And it reinforced this feeling of, yeah, it makes sense that I just stay quiet because nobody wants this book. So it's like nobody wants to hear me talk about this book. And that then leads to me not feeling emotionally like engaged and excited to talk about the book. That then leads to me not doing the work required to get the book in front of people so that they know about it, so that they can benefit from what's in the book, which means that they're not benefiting from the book. They're not sharing the book with other people. And that then reinforces this thought of nobody wants to read or hear anything about my book. That's a real example of my approach initially. Now my approach is, hey, I truly believe that this book was written to help people. Because of that, I feel more excited to get the book into the hands of people, because I know, because I've already gotten responses. I've already gotten people who have read the book and who are like, man, this book made me think deeply. That excitement, that engagement, that energy then leads to me sharing about the book. Or, hey, I'm in a conversation and somebody's talking about how they have students who are struggling to stay focused in this time when there's a whole bunch of division and distractions. Oh, hey, I have this book. I can share it with your students. I can come and speak about it, or you can buy some copies so that they have them. And that then leads to the books being in the hands of people who the book can impact. And so this thoughts influencing feelings, influencing actions, influencing results, and those results reinforcing that programming or those beliefs is so powerful. The Bible gives us a brief glimpse of it. I think it does it in a number of different ways, but even the verse that says, as a man thinketh, so is he. I think even that verse just gives a brief glimpse into, like, as somebody thinks, that then ultimately produces the result. So when I see this thoughts, feelings, actions, results identified in these books, I'm like, oh, that's not a deviation from anything that I believe. It's actually just breaking it down and making it even more clear. Which brings me back to this idea of undeniable. When I think about the result that I'd love to have is, by the end of the year, to have done the work, to have the impact on people, and to position myself so that the skill set that I have is undeniable, the impact that I'm having is undeniable, and the income that I'm generating matches that impact. What I found in quiet time, or what I felt convicted of in quiet time, is that in order to get that outcome, I have to start with this fundamental belief that everything that I need in this season and to be effective and impactful in this season is already on the inside of me. Furthermore, I get to have this deep belief that I'm not doing this for approval from anybody, especially not God. I'm doing it from a place of approval from God. As a Christian, I reference Christ, and in his life, before he performed a single miracle, he was approved by his Father. I think of that in terms of he walked this earth with an undeniable understanding of who he was. Now, that didn't mean that he wasn't questioned or some people didn't believe in him, but he had a clear understanding of who he was. He had an accurate self-perception. And so walking through this world, walking through this year with an undeniable understanding of the gifts that I've been given, the abilities that I've been given, even if they're in seed form, the ideas that I've been given, even if they're in seed form, the opportunities that I have to collaborate with people, the opportunities that I have to travel, to work with different leaders and teams, my approach starts with an undeniable belief that God has placed everything that I need to have positive impact on the people I'm called to work with. He's already placed it inside of me, and I just need to steward what has been given to me to the best of my ability. And so this idea of undeniable started out honestly from a place of ego. It's like I want to actualize my potential. I want to maximize and actualize my potential. While that is still true, it's evolved into no. I know to my core, whether I want to touch on the accolades or the achievements that I've had, the gifts that God's given me, the opportunities that I've had to lead teams in Japan, to lead teams to African countries while in the Air Force, to come to California, get my MBA, to work in real estate finance, to get my coaching certification. Even before that, before graduating, commissioning into the Air Force, to focus and learn the craft of civil engineering. I've gotten a chance to do some amazing things, and I understand now that it's all working together and it's all enabling me to have the impact that I'm having on the teams that I'm working with. It starts with having an undeniable belief in who you are called to be and who you are, and an undeniable understanding that you are fearfully and wonderfully made, and that you are approved. You're not working for anybody's approval. You're outworking the love and the grace and the favor that's been placed on your life. So my word of the year is undeniable. And I have an undeniable belief that everything that God has called me to in this season, he has prepared me for. And because he's prepared me for it, I can walk with a level of confidence. Like I can feel confident in the work that I do. And because of that feeling of confidence, I can approach and I can act with the energy that's required to have the impact that I'm aiming to have. Because I show up with the energy and the intentionality, I'm going to have that impact. The results are going to be there, which will then reinforce this belief that everything that I need, I have, and he has prepared me for this season. As we wind down, I am so curious. Do you have a word of the year? Have you heard of this TFAR framework? Thoughts influencing feelings, feelings influencing actions, actions influencing results. And 3, are you familiar with any of these? I highly recommend all 3 of them. Secrets of the Millionaire Mind by T. Harv Eker, Self-Coaching 101 by Brooke Castillo, and Energy Leadership, which was written by the guy who created the coaching program that I went through, Bruce D. Schneider. You will find tremendous value in all 3 of these books. Gosh, there's so much I could share, so much more that I could share about each of these books and how I came across them. And then the 4th book, Enduring Urgency. If you're looking for a book that is as applicable for a first-time leader as it is for somebody who has been leading teams for decades. If you're looking for a book that helps you grow and helps you regain or gain that accurate self-perception in the process of achieving massive goals, this is the book for you. Enduring Urgency, Achieve Massive Goals in a World of Distractions. You can find it on Amazon now. That's the end of the episode, but if you want to stick around, here is a little bonus of how I came across each of these 3 books. So, Secrets of the Millionaire Mind, I came across for the first time, and you could, if you looked at the back of the book, you can even see it. I bought it when I was in Japan. I was in this massive store that had books. They say don't judge a book by its cover, but we all judge books by their cover. And this book caught my eye initially, and then it sat on my shelf for a couple years. It really did. And I say a couple, it was more than a couple. And the reason I avoided it once it was on my bookshelf in my home was because I was like, Secrets of the Millionaire Mind, this is just another one of those like get rich quick books or money scheme books or whatnot. I actually avoided it, not knowing that years later, after like I was on a personal retreat, I was at a bookstore. I love bookstores. So I was at this bookstore. I was looking for books and I saw this one. And I flipped it over to the back, and it had this TFAR framework. This circumstances can trigger thoughts, thoughts cause feelings, feelings cause actions, actions cause results, and then the results are evidence for those thoughts. And I was just like, whoa, that is wild. So I bought it then, and I took it with me for my retreat, and I started reading it. And it was so fascinating and so helpful, and it helped me kind of start to reprogram my own thoughts. And then fast forward a little bit later, maybe less than a year, because it was when I decided to go pursue my coaching certification, because I went through IPEC, and IPEC was created by Bruce D. Schneider. One of the books, obviously, that they recommend reading is Energy Leadership, so you can understand the type of coaching that is performed. In reading this book and in going through the coaching program, there's a coaching method that I'll just say helps reframe people's thoughts in a short period of time. It's a coaching framework. It's a fun one to use. And I was like, wait a minute. This is that same TFAR framework at the core. It has a cool name, but it's the TFAR framework. I went and picked up the picked back up the self-coaching book from my bookshelf just to make sure. And I was like, wow, okay, these books are connected. Fast forward a little bit later when I finally read Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. And I was like, oh my goodness. Within the first couple chapters, talks about programming thoughts, feelings, actions, results around money and money consciousness. And it was so beautiful to see those 3 books connect and have different vantage points, but really still be speaking to the same concept. And for me, it was helpful because it then allowed me to say, oh, okay, I'm getting this in 3 different ways. And for sure, that Bible verse of as a man thinketh, so is he, also resonated and was in my mind. It's just been such a helpful framework because you can literally start at any one of those, and there's questions you can ask yourself to really get to the heart of what thoughts you have at the root, and like really even get to the programming that you have that has helped cultivate those thoughts. So you could start at the results and say, what actions or inactions am I taking or not taking that are creating these results? Okay, boom. What's the feeling that I have that's leading to this action or inaction? Okay, boom. What is the thought that is leading to this feeling? And you can literally unpack it and really work through a variety of different things. So I wanted to set this up in this session, knowing that in a future episode, we're going to talk through the life wheel. It is this framework can be paired with the life wheel, and the life wheel is focused on taking a holistic approach to how you're showing up in the world. So that's what I got. Let's see. How do I want to end this? I do believe that this is the year that I step so intentionally and fully into my purpose that there is no doubt. There is no question of what I've been called to do. I'm also approaching the word of the year, undeniable, from the perspective that God has placed all I need inside of me, and it is up to me to steward it well in this season. And so my stewardship is coming from a place of undeniable belief and faith that everything that I need for this season is in me, and I have the right people around me and coming around me. It doesn't mean it'll always be easy. It doesn't mean it'll happen overnight. And that's why I recommend reading Enduring Urgency, because it allows you to build resilience, develop patience, and take consistent, focused action. But just because it doesn't happen overnight doesn't mean it's not going to happen. And sometimes faith isn't just about the size of the vision, the size of the dream. It's also about the length of time and how you wait. Are you operating as if it's going to happen, or are you operating from a place of lack and disbelief and doubt? And that is my challenge to myself in this season is, hey, undeniable faith, undeniable belief, conviction that what you have is what you need in this season to be effective. You just got to steward it. You just got to steward it. You just got to steward it. Look, and I'm talking to you. If you've listened this far, what you have is what you need. You just got to steward it in this season. One of my favorite quotes, and I'll end with this, and it's in the book, is a quote from Dr. Darius Daniels. He says, when it comes to purpose, we often get caught up focusing on what's going to happen a decade from now. He says, how are you stewarding where you are and what you have now? And if you do what you're supposed to do in this season, and you do what you're supposed to do in the next season, and you do what you're supposed to do in the next season, you automatically and organically accomplish purpose. How are you stewarding what you have and where you are today? Do you have a word for this year that's guiding you? I'm excited to hear from you. You can reach me at david@leadcommgym.com, david@leadcommgym.com. Until the next episode, be a conscious leader who cares. Be a conscious leader who communicates authentically from a place of resilience and empathy, and view leadership through the lens of stewardship. Be a leader who cares. Thanks for listening to the Leader Fitness Podcast, where leaders come to train. I'm David Brown-Dawson. I'll see you next episode.